Hello viewers, today we're going to be cleaning and servicing a Holmes window fan. This is a model number HAWF2044. And this particular one is from 2001. This was $3. Pretty good deal considering the retail price is nearly $50. And it does work, but it's very dirty, and I don't think it's ever been cleaned or serviced since it was purchased in probably 2002. And I believe there is an issue with one of the switches on here. I think it was this switch. Let's turn this on. That seems to be okay. Here is this side. I don't know why I thought that was having a problem. Well, maybe it's okay. I'm going to start by removing all the screws from the back. There's, I believe, 11 of them. Okay, so this is apart now, and actually looks like something has broken in here. Piece of plastic there. And now at this point we're going to have to remove these clips, and this is not for the faint of heart. This is very frustrating and difficult to do because these were not intended to come off. Actually, this one is kind of jammed. So these clips are what holds this in place, and these were not designed to come off. Holmes, according to the instruction manual, says that you're just supposed to clean the fans like this. Okay, I forgot where we were now. Once you have the screws removed, it's going to open like this, but it won't come off on the one side, and it's because these crazy clips are in the way. Now, I don't know of a really good way to remove these clips. According to Holmes, they're not supposed to be removed, and that's probably half the issue. But if anybody knows a better way to remove these clips, feel free to let me know, because I've been struggling with these stupid things for many years trying to figure out how to do it. So what I typically do is I take a small screwdriver and I wedge it in between here and get it underneath the clip. Enough to the point where there's a lot of tension on there, and actually you can see it's kind of starting to bend a little bit. And then with another screwdriver, kind of go in here at the top, and I just pry it off like this. And there we go. Like I said, that's not a good way to do it, but it works, and it's really the only way that I know of how to get that off. So now that that's gone, this back cover should come right off, and then we can wash this. Oh, there's still one screw in there. Let's get that out of there. Okay. So now we're going to remove the fan blades. Actually, now that that's off, let's see if I can find out where this came from. Is it this chunk here? I think it's too big to be this chunk from up here. Yeah, that's not quite the right shape. So it must have come off of something else. Didn't come off the back cover. It's a different color. I don't know where that came from. Okay. It must have come off from here. Yeah, oh yeah, it did. I see now. Okay. So we'll glue that back on. That's no problem. Anyways, let's get the fans off. This kind of just comes off relatively easily. There's a lip here. This last piece sits on these pieces there, so that just kind of lifts off. And this we're going to wash that as well. So now the fan blades. It's a no, it's not that size. It's probably not this size either. Nope. I have to use the adjustable wrench. I need to service my adjustable wrench. There is a bolt and some Loctite, it looks like, on there. And then after that, it should just kind of come off. Of course, probably going to take a little bit of convincing to get it to come off, but it just pulls off. So there's that. We'll do the other one. Alright, the blades are set aside to get washed. This has like sheetrock dust in it. Very annoying. It's getting all over the place. So now we're gonna take apart the internals. We're gonna get all the electronics out so that we can just wash the front cover here. So we got 3 screws in this this center piece here, and this covers the thermostat, the speed control, and the reversing switches. Set that aside to get washed. And oh, this is interesting. I wonder if this is I know in the newer model these can all be removed relatively easily, but it looks like they've actually used some kind of a plastic molding thing on here in order to secure this in place, which I find extremely frustrating. So, this is now not going to be nearly as easy as it should be. Okay. Okay, Holmes, that's fine. We can play that game. I'll see if I can remove this from the inside somehow. Or from the outside, rather. Let's see if I can get this dial off of here. Because there's an issue with this anyways. It's not really turning as far over as it should be. Let's see if I can just pull this off of here. Nope, it looks like it's stuck on. Jeez, they're not making this easy. Okay, there we go. So this this will come off. It's got a nut in there. And we're going to unscrew that nut. Now release the thermostat. I just threaded that nut back on there so we don't lose it. And now the switches, I want to see if I can get one of these to come off of here as well. Oh dear. Where did that go? Well, it wouldn't be a project if something didn't disappear into my black hole that exists in this shop. Here it is. Ow. Alright, so that confirms that these are in fact held in with like a plastic kind of a glue, not a glue, a plastic melting kind of a thing. So what I'm going to have to do here is come in here with a knife and I'm going to just cut it off. And then we'll have to figure out how we're going to reattach it. And this is going to take some time here. I'm just going to go through it carefully and with patience. So there we go. That's what we wanted to do. Just make it so that the melted part has come off. I'll see if I can show another one here. Alright, so once you get it down to this point, the switch should be able to come off. Yeah, you can see now it's free. So I'll do that to the other sides and then we'll be able to take the switches out. Now I think what I'll do is I'll put hot glue on there to keep it back in place. Okay, I've cut off all the plastic studs, so now this one came off fairly easily. This one's going to need a little bit more convincing, I think. There we go. I'll pull this piece out. Not exactly sure what that does, but hold on to that. Now, let's see here. These are the capacitors, I believe, and the switches are held in with screws. So this should be simple to take out, although these screws are pretty rusted. That's a little concerning. And you have to remove the dial before it's going to come free. It's not going to come without a little bit of convincing, apparently. Okay, so that's free. And we'll do that with the other one as well. The motor comes off with these 4 screws surrounding it. And now this should just come right out. So at this point, I think the last obstacle we're going to have is this strain relief here. And these are interesting to deal with. So I'm going to remove this from the housing here. And you know, I suppose if you wanted to skip this part and put all this stuff into a bag and just wash it as it is, you could do that. And I have half a mind to do that right now, but no, I'm gonna pull the strain relief out. So the way these work is this piece has to actually get pushed through. So I'm going to push this in here, so kind of like up and towards the front of the fan. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not going to be able to get the cord out of there because, oh, it's not worth it. It's not worth taking this out because even if I get that strain relief freed, the plug will prevent it from actually sliding out of the housing. Oh man, they do not make these things easy to work with. I'm going to take a vacuum and clean off the bulk of the dirt from the motors before I put them in the bag so it doesn't make a mess of my bag. Okay, so now I have a watertight bag here, and I'm going to put the motors into it. I do want to be kind of careful here not to put a lot of pressure on the thermostat, otherwise it won't work very well anymore. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the plastic components into the bathtub, and I'm going to spray it down with diluted ammonia D and let it sit for a little while, and that should just take everything right off. The front guard has been washed. There's something over here. It really just doesn't want to come off. I don't know what it is. Looks like some kind of construction debris, perhaps. I really don't know. But otherwise, it cleaned up okay. Here's the electronics. Oh, still dry. I'll let this bag dry out now. Okay, now we're going to service the motors. And I don't like the way this is designed because it has this thing here. And this thing kind of prevents you from being able to pull the front bearing off of the shaft for cleaning. So, since it's not too bad, I'm going to see if we can get away with just lubricating it. Because usually these can be hammered out, but it's kind of a hassle. And in this case, probably more hassle than it's worth. So, I want to see if I can split the motor apart to clean it, because there's accumulation of junk on the back I'd like to get off. No, actually, looking at it more closely, I believe the... Well, let's see what we can do. It may not... This may not give me the access I want either. I figured that would be the case. The stator is within the rear portion of the motor, which is what I wanted to clean out. And it's not worth the hassle trying to remove that, since the motor is otherwise working okay. So what I'll have to do is I'll go through here with some compressed air and blow the motors out that way. And other than that, they're just going to get a few drops of oil and they're going to get put back in, because this is turning into way too much of a hassle. And I have other things to do today. Now, it's been a while since I've serviced the newer version of this. This one's relatively old. If I recall correctly, the newer one is not nearly as difficult to work with. Just wipe that stuff off of there and make sure that it's relatively clean. Get this back into alignment because we split it apart a little bit. Alright, and now I'll just take some oil, and of course we're going to use Fian oil. This is the 3-in-1 blue can, which is specifically for Fians, whereas the other kind, the red one, is not for Fians, or any really bearings for that matter. A couple drops in the back. And despite all the aggravation this is causing trying to service it, these motors are actually pretty good motors, and I've seen a lot of these run for many, many years without any kind of a problem. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing with the other motor, and then we'll get back on the video and begin reassembly. Okay, we're ready to begin the reassembly process here. To resecure the switches, I'm going to take some low temperature hot glue. I'm going to put a drop of glue over where the little plastic mold thing would have been. And I'm also going to put some along the side here. And that should hold it well enough. I had an error here. The wiring goes under the capacitor boxes, not on top of it. Okay, so we're almost done here. We got this put back in. This isn't quite all the way down, so I just didn't screw it all the way. I don't know what's going on with that. It's more hassle than it's worth. Switches are in place. As long as nothing is free enough to enter the path of the blades, it's really not going to be any kind of an issue. I glued in this piece up here. I glued in the switches. Those are both working fine. We got to reattach the thermometer, or the thermostat, whatever it is. So I put that nut on there already. We'll just go ahead and tighten that up. And now I'll put the blades on. So the blades, that notch in there, there and there, aligns up with this piece. And to help put it on, these two holes do indicate where the notch is on the blade. So if the two holes there align with that, push it on, and that should be good. Put the nut back on. Does not have to be very tight at all. Okay, that should suffice for that. The spin down time is satisfactory, even though we didn't, go through and service the bearings as well as I would have liked to. So that's fine. Like I said before, these motors are quite reputable. I've found them to be very, very good, and they hold up for a long time. So I'll go get the rest of the parts and we'll finish the assembly. Let's put the controls back on and we'll give it a quick test run and make sure everything is working. That's spinning properly now. Okay. Now let's go ahead and plug it up. And we'll start with intake. Sounds a lot better than it did before. And it's definitely moving more air too. Exhaust. Spin down. One more time. On. Off. Not bad. Okay. What's next here? Put this crazy sliding thing back on. So this lip here fits on these pieces. And if you don't get that in line correctly, it's not going to, when you pull this out, this piece won't stay with it. It'll kind of work like that, which is worthless. So we have to make sure this is on correctly. And there is an issue here, and that is within the glue that I put on here. So I'm going to have to take that off. It's proceeding into the track. One of the many things I like about hot glue is that you can fairly easily take it off if need be. So we'll just remove that part, and it's still strong enough there. Clip this back on, and now it's working fine. Okay, good. So now we gotta put the back cover on and then play with the stupid clips again. And now for my favorite part, the stupid clips. So there's really no good way to get these back on either. What I usually do is, oh no, this is, I put this on wrong. That tab is supposed to go underneath. Let's see if I can just kind of force it under there. There we go, okay. Typically put this on, I take it down about just enough to the point where it's going to start hitting at the bottom there. Force one side in, and then this is the hard part. And just force the other side in. And yes, it sounds like it's going to break, and perhaps it will at some point, but it's on. So do that again over here. Well, that's certainly not the way it's supposed to be. I mean, it still works, but it's supposed to click into place. I don't know why it's not working as it should be, but it's still accomplishing its task. So I'm not going to care. So there we have it. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to glue on here. Oh, I have to get this going again. Alright, well that's warming up again. Let's do a quick test now that it's all back together. And that's on exhaust. Is exhausting. Let's do intake. It seems to work better on intake. Plenty of air. You don't really see the spin down time too well, but anyways. Alright, that's working. Switch that off. And now I'll go ahead and glue this one final piece. And that will wrap up this video.